Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling a figure who's, well, let's face it, more than just a laughing face.
That's right.
Budai, the so-called laughing Buddha.
Right.
We're going to separate, myth from history and uncover what makes this guy so fascinating. Our main source,
Okay.
excerpts from his Wikipedia article, which, by the way, just a little side note, is way more interesting than your average Wikipedia rabbit hole. And just a heads up, that whole Laughing Buddha title, it's actually a bit of a misnomer, a little hint there that there's more to his story than meets the eye.
Definitely.
So to kick things off, Budai pops up in 10th century China.
Okay.
That's surprisingly recent, right?
Yeah, it is.
During the later Liang dynasty. His real name was Kishi, but let's be honest, Budai has a better ring to it, don't you think?
It certainly does. And I think it speaks volumes about how he's remembered as Budai, the cloth sack monk.
Ah, the iconic sack. It's not every day you see a monk sporting such a, shall we say, relaxed fashion choice.
Right.
What's the story there?
Well, it's all about symbolism, right? I mean, you see, Budai's sack represents abundance and contentment,
Okay.
especially compared to the typical image of monks who, live with very, very few possessions. He carries his meager belongings with joy, kind of reminding us that true wealth comes from within.
I love that. So he's not just happy-go-lucky, he's making a statement.
Exactly.
Now, the Wikipedia article paints a pretty vivid picture of his life. Wandering monk, a heart for kids, even predicting, get this, fortunes and the weather is like a greatest hits of folklore.
Right. And it, really highlights his deep connection to everyday people.
Yeah.
Unlike monks confined to monasteries.
Right.
Budai was out in the world, living his truth and sharing wisdom in very unconventional ways.
And get this, he supposedly slept outside, even in winter, completely unfazed by the cold.
Wow.
Now, that's some next-level inner peace.
It really is.
But what's really interesting is his death. He leaves behind this note basically saying, catch you later, I'm off to become Maitreya.
Right.
Now, Maitreya, for those unfamiliar, is the future Buddha, prophesied to appear when humanity is ready.
That's right.
Budai, claiming to be an incarnation Maitreya, adds this whole other layer to his story.
Right. Exactly.
So we have this seemingly simple, joyful monk making this profound claim about his true nature. It makes you think there's more to him than meets the eye, right? And this brings us to kind of a key question. Budai's whole vibe, the laughter, the generosity, it feels different from the typical image of a Buddhist figure.
Exactly. And that's crucial because you see, Budai's emergence coincides with the rise of Chan Buddhism in China.
Okay.
Which tried to make Buddhist teachings accessible to everyone.
So less about studying scriptures, more about finding enlightenment in daily life.
Precisely.
Okay.
And what's more universal than laughter, right?
Right.
Budai's infectious joy wasn't just a personality quirk. It was a deliberate expression of this core Chan Buddhist principle. He embodied the idea that enlightenment can be joyful, even fun.
He was like the spokesmonk for finding joy in unexpected places.
I love that.
But if he was challenging norms, how did he become so beloved?
Well, that's what's so fascinating. It seems Chan Buddhism, with its, unconventional approach, really resonated with people. And Budai, with his relatable personality and amazing stories, became a sort of unofficial mascot for the movement.
Okay.
A bridge between these profound teachings and everyday life.
He made enlightenment relatable. And speaking of relatable, let's talk about those Budai depictions.
Oh, yeah.
They're everywhere. Sculptures, paintings, even little incense boxes.
It's true. And they offer a fascinating glimpse into how different cultures have interpreted him over time.
Right.
Sometimes he's all smiles, radiating pure joy, surrounded by adoring children. Other times, like in depictions of the 7 lucky gods, he takes on a more solemn, contemplative demeanor.
It's like he contains multitudes. He can be joyful with you, but also tap into these deeper emotions.
Yes, exactly. And then there are the Japanese interpretations, heavily influenced by Zen Buddhism.
Right, Zen Buddhism.
Which is essentially Chan Buddhism with a Japanese twist.
Right. So how did they portray Budai?
Well, they often show him engaged in everyday activities.
Okay.
Laughing with children, shielding them from the rain, even meditating with his trusty sack as a cushion.
Meditating with the sack. That's fantastic. It's like a reminder that beneath all that merriment, there's still this deep well of inner peace and wisdom.
Exactly. And then there's that wonderfully quirky motif of him smoking a kisaru pipe and exhaling otafuku. Otafuku, she's a Japanese deity of good fortune.
Right.
It's like he's spreading luck and happiness with every puff.
Right, right.
It's a lighthearted take on a similar image of a revered Zen master, Shandao, exhaling Buddhist figures.
Okay.
Budai's depiction highlights this fascinating contrast between reverence and playfulness that he embodies so perfectly.
What those artists were saying, like, yes, enlightenment is serious business, but let's not forget to have a little fun with it.
Exactly.
Which makes you wonder, how did this jovial, sack-toting monk become so intertwined with the Buddha himself?
Right.
Everyone's seen those laughing Buddha statues.
Right. It's a classic.
Go ahead.
It's a classic case of mistaken identity, especially in the West.
Right. Oh, jolly round guy. Must be the Buddha. But, as we'll see after a quick break, there's a lot more to unpack here. Okay, so we've got this case of mistaken identity. It makes sense, right? I mean, Budai's image it's everywhere.
Right.
But how did this happen?
Well, I think, for many people, his image is the first thing that comes to mind when they think of Buddhism.
That's true.
And, given how widespread his depictions are, it's understandable.
Yeah. It's true, but it's important to remember that, the historical Buddha Gautama looked quite different.
Right.
And his teachings, while profound, weren't exactly known for their emphasis on side-splitting laughter.
Absolutely. And this confusion. I mean, it isn't limited to the West either. Budai's been conflated with other figures throughout history and across cultures.
Right.
Take Anjita, for example, one of the original 18 arhats in Buddhist tradition.
Okay, remind me who the arhats are again.
Oh, they were enlightened disciples of the Buddha.
Okay.
Kind of like his all-star team.
Right.
Anjita, specifically, was known for removing venomous snakes from villages, protecting people from harm.
Ah, interesting. So like a spiritual exterminator.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he's sometimes depicted with a bag, just like Budai.
So similar imagery, but a completely different backstory.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it highlights how easily these visual symbols can be misinterpreted.
Right.
Especially across cultures.
It's like a game of telephone, right?
Yes.
The image gets passed along, but the original meaning can get a bit muddled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are there other examples of this Budai mix-up?
Sure. There's Phrasankajai in Thailand, often depicted as a rotund, smiling monk.
Okay.
Much like Budai.
Okay.
There are even stories about him intentionally making himself appear less attractive to admirers.
Wow.
So that they would focus on his teachings, not his looks.
Wow. Talk about dedication.
Right. But there are subtle ways to distinguish Phrasankajai from Budai. For example, Phrasankajai is usually depicted with a bit of hair.
Okay.
And his robes are draped differently. But you can see how the lines can get blurred.
It's like a spot the difference puzzle for Buddhist iconography.
Right.
But even with those distinctions, it feels like Budai's image has kind of transcended those specific origins. He's become this almost universal symbol of joy, prosperity, and contentment.
That's a great observation, and it speaks to the power of his image to resonate across cultures and time periods.
He's more than just a historical figure. He represents something deeply human, wouldn't you say? This desire for joy, for abundance. It's something we all share.
Absolutely. And Budai with that infectious grin and his overflowing sack becomes a visual reminder of those aspirations. Yeah. He's a symbol of hope. A reminder that joy and contentment are possible even amidst life's challenges.
He's like this cheerful little nudge from the universe, saying lighten up, enjoy the ride.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's a message we need now more than ever.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we live in a world obsessed with achievement and material wealth.
It's true.
It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget to appreciate the simple things.
It's true. We're constantly bombarded with messages about what we should be doing, what we should be striving for. It's exhausting.
Exactly. And that's where Budai comes in.
Right.
Reminding us that true happiness isn't found in in chasing external validation or material possessions.
Right.
But in cultivating inner peace and gratitude for what we already have.
He's like the ultimate mindfulness coach, but instead of meditation retreats, he offers belly rubs and laughter.
I love that analogy. It makes you wonder why do we find him so irresistibly lovable?
Right.
Is it the round belly, the mischievous
Yeah.
grin, or maybe that air of unshakable contentment?
He's got this secret recipe for happiness. He's just dying to share.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, that secret ingredient is something we all carry within us, that capacity for joy, for generosity, for finding contentment in the present moment.
It's like he's holding up a mirror, reflecting our own potential for happiness back at us.
This deep dive has been amazing.
It has.
We've gone from a laughing Buddha misconception to uncovering a whole world of history, symbolism, cultural interpretations, and a whole lot of laughter along the way.
It's been a joy to explore these fascinating nuances with you.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Budai, we want to leave you with something to ponder. The next time you encounter an image of this jolly figure, whether it's a statue in a temple, a painting in a museum, or even just a little keychain, take a moment to consider this. Beyond the laughter, beyond that iconic sack, what does Budai's image say about our own desires for happiness and fulfillment?
What does his enduring appeal tell us about the human condition? It's a fascinating question, isn't it?
It really is. He's more than just a charming face with a penchant for laughter.
Much, much more. He reminds us that sometimes the path to enlightenment is paved with joy, generosity, and maybe even a few good belly rubs.
And who knows? Maybe by embracing a little bit of Budai's spirit, we can all discover that elusive recipe for a more joyful and fulfilling life.
It's certainly a journey worth taking.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of Budai.
It really does.
We went from laughing Buddha to uncovering a surprisingly complex tapestry of history, symbolism, and cultural interpretations.
It's amazing how much there is to uncover when you take a closer look at something familiar, isn't it?
It really is. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing, and remember, never underestimate the power of a good laugh.